Okay, today I'm just going to talk about basically kind of like fitness and health in the future. I'm talking 10, 20 years from now. Not an expert, I might be wrong. This is kind of speculation, but I don't know, there's some there's some stuff going on to back up what I'm about to say. So, I think in 10 to 20 years, probably 10 years, closer to 10 years, we're going to have longevity escape velocity, which means we will reverse our aging faster than we age, meaning we essentially escape aging at a rate that is faster than aging, meaning we basically have an indefinite lifespan, barring freak accidents and stuff, and like causes of death that aren't to do with aging and biological problems, such as being hit by a car, which is a biological problem, but not an inherent one. Yeah. So I think that's going to happen, and the reason why is because there's quite a lot of work going into it now. You've got people like Brian Johnson who are trying to look at their own markers of aging, and they're trying to make their own protocols in order to reverse their aging or stall their aging. And they're actually getting quite good results, some of them. They're recording in detail what they're doing and trying to show what might be causing that in their protocol and why, for example. So there's a lot of independent people who are now doing their own research on their biomarkers and what supplements are doing to them, what effects they're having on them, for example. So there's a fair bit of just individual research on it. AI is able to pick up a lot of molecules and generate a lot of molecules, possible molecules, and give an idea of what they can or cannot do and which one would be the best for a certain purpose, which is insane, by the way. And we've got people like Dr. David Sinclair with OSK, free Yamanaka factors, who believe that they can reverse aging and who've successfully reversed the age of cells in other animals, meaning that it might be possible in us. There seems to be enough research in this direction, and whilst it's not big enough yet, arguably, I think the interest in it will grow over time, and I also think the investment in it will grow over time. I think the simultaneous investments in AI will make it easier to research the longevity field, and so we'll get better results faster as we progress and as we invest more money into life extension technologies and research. So that's the life extension phenomena. That's why I believe that it may occur. And then we'll move on to why I believe that exercise will become unnecessary. So I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but exercise is already kind of unnecessary because there are a bunch of chemicals that already mimic exercise. So we've got cardarine, which will increase your metabolic rate. It will increase your endurance, your cardiovascular health and such as well, quite rapidly, over a couple of weeks actually. So it's very good for fat loss, and it'll more or less just in and of itself keep you in shape or put you in better shape, as long as you're not eating 20,000 calories a day. If you're having a reasonable amount of food and you're just a little overweight, that's going to kick it up a notch. Ozempic and tirzepatide. Ozempic, for example, is something that, and semaglutide, tirzepatide, seem to be pretty much reversing obesity in most patients. So that's already a thing. So cardarine and these GLP-1 agonists, stuff like that seems to it already exists, right? You can already kind of just take these drugs, improve your cardiovascular health, lose weight. Now you won't be able to increase your VO2 max through the use of these drugs just yet, but I bet there's some other drugs that I don't know about that will artificially increase your VO2 max for example. Yeah, so that's already one example of like weight loss and kind of cardiovascular health drugs that already yeah, I mean, you don't have to exercise. There's others as well, Stenabolic SR9009 as well. But I don't know enough about that one particularly to get into it. And we already have steroids. We've already got testosterone and anphate. Look at me now. What, 70 something kilos? I'm not really communist, by the way. I might be in the future. This is from Vietnam. They love this hammer and sickle. So that's a Vietnamese shirt. Anyways, we already have drugs that mean you don't have to exercise in terms of either maintaining or developing muscle mass. If you look at studies on quite a lot of steroids and SARMs, which are selective androgen receptor modulators, not true steroids, you'll actually see that without exercise, you can gain quite a significant amount of muscle on these chemicals, right? Meaning you don't need to exercise in order to be physically stronger when you're on these chemicals. It's more pronounced in steroids. Like if you look at testosterone at 250 mg or 200 mg and above, the effects are drastic in in test subjects. There's a lot of studies on testosterone, which is why I'm mentioning it. Why I'm mentioning testosterone and not trenbolone. Because trenbolone, you know, we all know anecdotally it's stronger. There are a few studies on it. There are a lot more studies on testosterone. So that's the reason why I mentioned testosterone specifically. SARMs as well. What substance was it after 21 days? I think there was a 1.21 or 1.26, 1.31, something like that, kg. More than 1 kg muscle gain on Ligandrol, LGD4033. At really small doses it was tested, 0.1 milligrams, 0.25 milligrams, 3 milligrams and 1 milligram, sorry. So these substances already kind of eliminate this need for exercise, really. But the issue is they come with side effects right now. So if you take, to be honest, if you took 0.1 mg of Ligandrol, you could take it almost indefinitely. You'd get minor testosterone suppression, but you probably wouldn't have major, like long-term side effects from it at such a small dose. But you might, and you would definitely have a much worse lipid profile, for example. So there'd be risks of taking it even at that smaller dose. And cardarine, for example, cardarine was shown to cause cancer in, I believe it was mice or lab rats in one of the studies. And because of how bad the rate of cancer was in that study, they never progressed to human trials. Now, a lot of people say, well, it's because the equivalent amount of cardarine in a human would be such a high dose. I don't think it would. I looked at the study a while back, and I don't think the equivalent would be that high. And in fact, sort of recreational doses are about a quarter, a fifth of the cancer-causing doses in the study, which doesn't look good for cardarine. And I can absolutely see why they never went to human trials. It was deemed too dangerous. Testosterone and steroids in high doses will mess your heart up. Yeah, they'll mess your liver up. Your hair will all disappear, right? So technically right now, with the right chemical cocktail, we don't actually need to exercise. We can pretty much bypass it. But, you know, Ozempic and such, they have pretty terrible side effects. Steroids, I mean, the amount of heart damage and liver damage they can cause, really, really reducing your lifespan, okay? Now, we've got monoclonal antibodies that are myostatin and activin A inhibitors, so they turn off that production, and those chemicals inside of us basically accumulate to say that's enough building muscle. Here's a limiter on how much you can build. So if you shut them down with an inhibitor, I suppose you've got not infinite possibility in terms of muscle growth because there's biological limits, but a much, much higher capacity for muscle growth. And they're testing that in humans right now. My point is, if you look at steroids and compare them to SARMs, it seems both anecdotally and it also seems in the very moderate literature, there's not that many studies that have been published on SARMs yet, so there's not enough literature to say this. That they're slightly less harmful, that you get less side effects from them. If you scale them up so they're as good as steroids, you're probably going to get equivalent side effects. But what you can do with those is take really low doses and have extremely low risk of side effects while still getting some gain. There's not really, I can't think of steroids you can do that with because you have to get to a certain saturation, a certain point with steroids. So there's not really a low risk version of steroids other than SARMs, which I'm talking very low doses. The retail doses are ridiculous compared to the actual clinical doses. But they're getting safer, yeah? They've got, for example, all these peptides now, BPC-157, TB500, GHK-Cu, which, there's a lot of memes about, but some of these are going to be quite good once the studies come out. Basically, what I'm saying is they're making more and more chemicals that will kind of reduce or completely eradicate the need for exercise and allow us to maintain like good health, a good basal weight, and gain or retain muscle mass. With less and less side effects year on year. AI is making the process more efficient. So I think pretty soon, like right now, if you look at Gen Z, they don't have many prospects, there's not a lot going on for them. So a big status symbol is their health and how good they look, looks maxing, all that kind of thing. It's going to be dead in the water in 10 years when someone like me can basically get, stem cell replacement for all of, the sunburn and the facial damage that I've received. When I can get stem cell replications of these hair cells rather than move different hair cells into this part of my head and reverse my balding and all the cosmetic aging and also stay physically fit and reverse my biological markers, the looks maxing things over because it's like one of the last things, exercise, having a good body that requires effort and is I guess is a status symbol, yeah, among people right now. But I think in 5 to 10 years it'll become redundant. And if we, can reverse aging as well, we're going to have a population that essentially are beautiful indefinitely. That's it. I don't want to talk about that in any more depth, talk about the effects of that. I'm just kind of putting it out there that I think exercise will be more or less pointless in the future and looks maxing will be dead in the water. Thanks. I hope you enjoyed it. Bye.